Hello, my name is Schleu. I'm the CTO and founder of Canto. And I will talk about the Cumulus, our product support for video metadata today. So I will talk about who's Canto at all, and what is Cumulus. Then some abstraction of metadata for videos, and later talk detailed about how Cumulus supports assets and metadata. So who's Canto at all? We are an independent software vendor. We were founded in Berlin in 1990. I'm actually located in Berlin. We now have more than 60 employees. We have subsidiaries in San Francisco, Berlin, and Gießen, near Frankfurt. We are vendor of the digital asset management solutions called Cumulus, and also pretty new Flight, which is a completely cloud-based solution. We have over 2,500 active customers all over the world and over 60 strategic partners. So we're a pretty old company. And in '92, we developed what we call then an image database system, which is now called a digital asset management system, and called it Cumulus, like accumulating. And it's extremely versatile. It has a lot of customization options and configuration options, and it's used by customers in very different ways. We have web clients for asset management, and we also have a web application for publishing and distributing assets worldwide. We have connections into cloud services for distribution with CDN access. We integrate into 26 other systems, mostly web CMS systems, product information systems, and systems related to media assets and that need access to media assets. We added support for video cloud streaming providers because publishing videos on the cloud is not being done by your local web server, so you typically involve a streaming provider, and we will add some more streaming providers with the next version. We're currently working on that. We include workflow capabilities, and we have lots of APIs, internal APIs to extend the product, and also a RESTful web service API where we do all the integrations with. And the software is available as a hosted software and on-premise. So that's a rough overview of what Cumulus does. In fact, the way it works is very similar to what Extensys does. So Portfolio and Cumulus are one of the oldest image databases DAM systems in the world. This is just a rough overview of some of our customers. As you may see, it's a lot of different markets, but in the end, many of them have very similar needs. Most of them are just managing thousands or millions of pictures, and now starting with videos. And starting with videos means most of them come from the picture business and managed pictures by the last few years, and did a lot of IPTC metadata handling during the last years, and now they start doing the same for video, and they want to have more support of video metadata. So this is just a short overview of how we see metadata used in videos. It's a categorization that is very similar to what the IPTC does, so I will quickly go through this. So 4 main groups: technical, descriptive, workflow, and usage statistics metadata. The technical metadata is typically coming from the file format itself, so it's all about the codecs, the duration, audio, video codecs, subtitled language. All that is coming from the file format itself, and Cumulus can read all of that. The descriptive metadata is typically entered by users, and we can also read this out of the file if it is included in the file. Workflow metadata is typically stored outside of the video or asset, just because it's constantly changing and you don't want to write it back into the video all the time. So workflow metadata like the status, rating, internal comments, and review process internally is kept in the database. And usage statistics, it's very interesting to video providers. Typically, if you are in marketing and you want to distribute videos, you need to prove the success of the videos by reading the analytics later on to see how successful that video was watched. Let's come to how Cumulus is dealing with assets and metadata. First, a short list of video formats, and some of those formats have standard ways of storing metadata, like the MPEG-4 video format. And here's a list, not a complete list, but a rough overview of metadata properties that we support. As you can see, most of the properties are coming from the XMP standard. We're supporting 54 XMP properties, EXIF properties, IPTC and IPTC core and extended properties, some XMP media management, some XMP rights properties, Dublin core, EXIF, auxiliary, and XMP resource event. We also support the Apple QuickTime metadata and the Microsoft video metadata that Microsoft defined. All of these properties are routed into specific fields inside Cumulus. So how Cumulus is dealing with assets and metadata first, and as Torsten said, it's similar to Portfolio, we keep the assets separate from the metadata. We typically keep the asset at the location it is stored. We can also store it centrally and then reference it there, but we typically do not, as a black box, keep the assets inside our own system. Metadata is stored in a database for organizing and searching, so you have metadata fields associated with an asset, and you can later on search for that. And the location of the asset is typically just one part of metadata. So where the asset is actually located is also a metadata in the database. So for us, everything starts with the database, and there we can get access to the asset. How we handle the metadata? Well, first the database needs to be prepared by defining some fields in the database. Then Cumulus can automatically read the metadata from the asset while importing the asset. Later on, the user can edit and modify the metadata, either manually, which is a tedious work and should be avoided as much as possible, or by software. For example, the workflow metadata is completely controlled by software, and the user just hits some buttons. But some metadata can also be written back into assets. Although I must admit that currently for videos, we do not write back metadata into videos. But we do so for IPTC metadata for pictures, for JPEG images, for example. So how do you set up metadata fields in Cumulus? First, we consolidate those properties coming from different metadata standards into some fields that we give unique identifiers. So, for example, the description field that comes out of different metadata standards is routed into a single field called description, having a well-known GUID, a well-known UID, into our database. So that with this UID, we can also apply semantics to this field. So a field named description with this UID, the well-known UID, we know that there is a description in it. If you want to add new fields to your catalog, you can pick a field from a module, like the IPTC filter, for example. The IPTC filter offers a lot of fields from the IPTC standard, and you can just add the field to your catalog by picking it from there. Or you can create custom fields by yourself. We support multiple languages for string fields. You can index them for sorting and searching, including full-text search. You can make them user-editable and also, in addition, mandatory, so that the user has to fill them out. You can also create fields that automatically calculate field values from other fields. We have permission-based access per field to the users, and the metadata fields from some metadata standards out of the assets can be routed in and out of the database by configuring it. And this next graphics shows a little bit of how that could be done. For example, on the left-hand side, you have an asset with IPTC, XMP, and 8BIM, which is Photoshop metadata. And as you can see, you configure the description of IPTC, the description of XMP, and the caption of Photoshop metadata to be routed into the description field inside the Cumulus catalog. And you can also control the order in which those metadata fields are read. So the first one may win, or you can even collect all of them and separate them by return, by line break. And when it comes to writing back metadata, you can also route those description fields into different metadata fields of other metadata standards. In case of pictures, we allow you to store metadata that you have edited in your catalog back into the asset for exporting. And that's it. I will be glad to answer more questions later.
Perfect. Thank you very much.